registered to attend. Are we at 79 or are we at 78? Was that the number we're shooting for?
No, we've got 175, I think, or something.
Holy moly! Wow, that's a big number for such a topic. I think, as you all know, as those people who are here at this event, that the topic that is under discussion here is one of the most in-demand things. So, also, while we have an industry that is experiencing a tremendous shock to the system, to say, that would be great. You know, it would be a great thing to know some of these skills, and that's why I'm very excited for this presentation. So we're going to wait for 5 more minutes. I can do a copious amount of filibustering, but I may as well get some of this admin stuff, you know, some of the welcome stuff out a bit. Or no, I'm going to wait 5 minutes. I'm going to wait 5 minutes. Anybody here from out of town? Anybody here from out of town? Got a lot of people from out of town coming in. You know, I imagine that the social distancing and physical distancing and social togetherness has got everybody a very different perspective on the career path that is audio and the career options that are available. Wilfrid Laurier Music in Waterloo, yeah, learning about synchronous ensemble recording. Yeah, see, this is a big hot topic. You know, someone here, Jeffrey's 8-channel PA vocals, Mike's workstation, Adam Mitty, broadcasting live keynotes through Zoom, etc. Experiencing a bit of signal degradation, would love to learn about some options. Yes, of course, bandwidth. Does anybody here, do we have anybody with a IP background? Do we have anybody who has major telco experience? This is going to be the skill set of the future. I assure you that the importance of audio over IP is super duper important. Kitchener representing, we got Tom there. Kimberly, great to see you. Madison, Wisconsin, look at that, fantastic. Used to live out in Parkdale, now living back in Philly. Parkdale, that's awesome. Some of the best music in the world comes out there. Calgary, fantastic, good to see. I'm from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. So, you know, the Audio Engineering Society has a long reach. Kind of more stable, you know, somebody's looking for, Mike is looking for a more stable platform for remote broadcasting and performance recording. Well, that's why we're here. That's what we're going for. You know, what is broadcast performance and recording? Boom. Well, let's figure it out. Audio movers, Soundtrap. I know we do have a presentation on audio movers today. Remote collaboration. That is the topic of the day, and we have some industry experts and some world-renowned experts on the topic. We have experts last meeting. If you haven't checked out last meeting, I believe if you go to this is the Toronto Audio Engineering Society website. So I encourage you all to visit it right now. In our meetings and past events, we have a section here that has audio in a pandemic age. So if you're interested in this topic, we are most certainly one to have this exact conversation from a broadcast point of view. So last month's meeting was a collaboration between myself, who I work for CBC Radio Canada, and our good friend, colleague, mentor, guru of all things, Mr. Michael Noonan, came and spoke with his crew of some of the world's best audio technicians on how they are achieving broadcast in a pandemic world situation. And the talk was super well received, and it is available on our YouTube channel. So we're down to we're up to 68 subscribers, but a video like that has 244 views, and for us, these are small numbers, but it is a very hyper niche market that we are working towards. And because we are in this hyper niche market, you know, it brings experts and field people very much like yourselves who are interested in this type of work to these types of meetings, and we try to capture and preserve those presentations, and that is that is what we are working towards. We are audio engineers of various skill levels, various experience, various backgrounds, various studies, various everything. Audio is not just the music business, and the music business isn't the audio business. We have post-production, we have game production, we have live sound production, we have the engineering side of the technical protocols, we have the engineering side of the speakers, of the microphones, of the technology. For those who don't know, the Toronto Audio Engineering Society is a branch of the Audio Engineering Society in New York. And I will talk a little bit about the situation that this COVID has brought upon our organization. So it being 7 o'clock, I'm just going to go ahead and like to say again, formally welcome everybody to this event. This event is a very special event, like I was saying, is webcasting, recording, while keeping your social distance in a very unique time. We are doing something very new with this audio, with 89 participants coming into a Zoom meeting. We are fulfilling our mandate by uniting these audio engineers socially. Within our Allied Arts, we collect, disseminate scientific information that furthers the fields of engineering. So what we're doing here is, we are everybody's co-petition, I like to say, when it comes to the audio engineers and the community that we are in. And if we can share and disseminate this information, we all become more powerful through knowledge. And we aim to empower people of all ages through participation in a safe, healthy, open community presentation. Male, female, binary, non-binary, doesn't matter to us. For us, the thing that unites us is audio engineering. And we are learning through events such as this, presentations such as this, networking sessions, which are all currently on hold because of a global pandemic, as you all know. Luckily, we're all in the same situation, and I don't have to explain that to anyone, as well as a form of mentorship. And as we get into people coming to meetings, very much, I will use myself as an example, going to Audio Engineering Society meetings, I have met the best audio technicians and the best audio engineers and the most talented people in North America when it comes to audio engineering, and having the in common, we are Audio AES members and we see each other at society events, has really brought me together and with as many of these people as we possibly can. And it's a fantastic, beautiful thing when you have that sense of community. And our community is the Toronto Audio Engineering Society. Our webmaster is Earl McCluskie, who is chairing this event for us today. Our website is the most consistent place to find the most accurate information, as many organizations are finding themselves that the COVID-19 situation has, that's where you have to drink. Every time you hear somebody say COVID-19, you got to drink. We're finding ourselves taking our planning. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. I saw that. So on the COVID-19 situation here, we are trying to plan as far ahead as we possibly can, and we are trying to update you, our members, and you, our community, as best as we possibly can with the most accurate information as we possibly can. And that is all done through our website. Our executive, I am Anthony. I'm the chair of the Toronto Audio Engineering Society. It is a privilege of mine to chair this event and chair these events with Ross Whitney, who has been on our executive for a while. We have recording secretary Carl Matchett, who handles all of our notes and handles our reports to the Audio Engineering Society in New York. Treasurer Jeff Bamford, who handles all of our money. Membership, Mariana Hutton. Diversity, Brian Martin. Marketing, Rob DeVito. Sponsor relations, Kevin Liver. Operations, Frank Lockwood. Bulletin editor, website editor, special events coordinator, Earl McCluskie. And our committee members we are always looking for committee members, people who want to contribute, people who want to shape these events, people who want to have their topic answered, people who want to produce events. Warren Beck has joined us, Raphael Capone, James Boudelier, Blair Francie, Dan Momberquette, Lisa Patterson, Sai Padma. And then we have contributing members who are wisest and most revered, Jim Cox, Bob Breen, Jim Hayward, and Denis Tremblay jump into the emails and the conversations as they feel appropriate. Right now, the Audio Engineering Society is an organization that is not so much struggling, but like all organizations, they are looking for new members to join, and you can gift a membership. There are membership incentives to some people. So if you are an existing member, you can receive a discount by having somebody join because of your recommendation. And with these gifts, you can gift that to somebody who's just finishing school. Recommend this to, as a grad present. I look at the AES archive and the AES library and the AES journal as the library that is common to all recording studios globally. And when you have a global library of resources, such as the AES, you have access to a wealth of documentation, industry standards, industry notes, contacts, connections, a whole bunch of resources. Right now, the upcoming Aes Convention, there was one in May, and then there's one in October. The one in October typically is on the east coast of North America in New York, and the May one is typically a European visit. So this year, of course, COVID-19, drink. We have Virtual Vienna. Virtual Vienna is an online an online place. It's so funny watching all you guys drink while this is happening. So Virtual Vienna is an online experience that is unique, that is new, that is first trial of the Audio Engineering Society. And I highly recommend checking out aeseurope.com. And this may be the first time I attend a virtual AES. I have attended the standards committees virtually before, and it has worked extremely well. And here we are in 2020, and we kind of all got this figured out eventually. Our sponsors, we are brought to you by Solotech, Gear Audio, Sonotechnique, Bell Media, YSL Pro, Electrosonics, BRTB, Global USS, Adamson, and Lawo. Because of our sponsors, we're able to, well, at this moment, they would normally pay for we had like a little lunch type of thing, or like a little snack in between. But right now we don't have that. So fortunately for us, we are taking that money and reinvesting it into our future events. I believe one of the first events we may have when some of the bans are lifted may be a no talk about audio, socializing only type of night. We're not exactly sure yet, but I do know that by preserving this money, by doing these things online, we've been able to purchase things. I think we have like a Zoom account or a web account, or we're paying for that. And we are likely going to be investing a little bit more heavily in our social media, as well as our online presence. Our supporters are Ryerson University, who typically provides us location, but because of COVID-19, everybody drink. We will work around that. Professional Sound Magazine, for those who came here because of the marketing efforts of Norris Whitney Communications, I thank you very much. Professional Sound Magazine is one of the only paper publications of our trade in North America, so we're lucky to have it. And again, Sheridan Industries Research and Training Center, who have provided us a place in the past. We are trying something new, which is academic liaisons. So briefly, we have Finley from Ryerson, Jeff Walpert, Annalise, Michael Philip Wojwoda, who's in the presentation tonight. McMaster, I'm not sure who we have from McMaster. Eastman School of Music, we have Rich Waddy, we have Harold from Fanshawe, can't remember Harold's name, I'm sorry. Fill me in the chat room. Humber, Peter Cook, OIR to Mark Vogelsang, Brian Martin. We have a student section in McGill with Sam Hanna being the liaison. Seneca, Michael Noonan is a teacher at Seneca, and George Brown. If you are currently a student, or if you know students enrolled in these schools, please have them get in touch with these people, and we will, they can direct students towards how the AES works. We have a sign-up form. If you're not an AES member, your information has been captured through Eventbrite, and we will invite you to future events. But there is also a Google form that we will share around. Again, Society of Motion Picture Television Engineers in Toronto has a section, and the Screen Composer Guilds of Canada, Technical Toronto, also has an addition. A section and involvement in Toronto. So Toronto is a very busy place, and we have been essentially islanded because of the current situation. And
I didn't get that.
Oh,
could you try again?
Technology is you say okay Google and your whole house shuts off. So we are in this unique world of making remote broadcasting possible and making remote collaboration possible. And even Microsoft Word is struggling with collaboration. You have tools that are not necessarily designed to be remotely controlled, and here we are as audio technicians and audio engineers and content creators and content collaborators working with others in the exact same situation. So I hand this off to Earl, who is organized our meeting tonight, and Earl is very much a pioneer in doing exactly what we're talking about. So Earl is one of our most active members who collaborates with industry people when it comes to doing very top-end Canada streaming, as well as high-end recording through his personal production company, Chestnut Hall Recordings. I'm sure Earl can give a little bit more information on exactly what he does, but his clientele are wanting this exact thing, and we find ourselves becoming video experts. And I have to thank Earl for putting this together and actually running the Skype while giving this presentation. So I'm going to stand by. I'm going to put my kid to sleep and check the YouTube video later on the section I missed. And I hand it over to you, Earl. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending. And let's see our numbers. We are at 93. That is fantastic. Thank you very much, everyone.
That's great. Thank you very much, Anthony. Yes, if we unmute all, I don't know if if many of you have been enjoying some of the online concert experiences. It's a really, really weird sound to hear everybody clapping on Zoom. And we're just going to have to accept it. And you watch the performers, they kind of go cringe. Is that what I've got to listen to? But it's the only way that they can get a feeling of a response. And of course, they can see all the faces. And we've been watching this emerge over the last couple of weeks. So I'm just going to do a really high level, and John, you can jump in at any time to steer me on this. What was what really got me super excited in the last couple of weeks? Partly speaking with John, and then reaching out to some of the presenters that were talking and realizing that it's not all doom and gloom. And that's where I was. My livelihood is dependent 90% on live performance. I do streaming with Medici.tv. So I've worked with Montreal Symphony Orchestra. Unless we find a way for ensembles to get together on the stage in an audience, that's not going to happen again. I do a lot of smaller ensemble, and the shows have all been shutting down. We're all seeing this. And of course, that is the lifeblood of the music industry, is live performances. If it's gone, and if we can't cover that, then musicians don't get promoted, They don't get a chance to get their product in front of the faces of the people, the movers and shakers that can advance their careers. And we could be in rough shape. So immediately we turned to the platforms that are out there. We looked at Zoom, and we look at Google Hangout, Google Meet, and there's half a dozen other out there. And we realized right away that we're not going to be able to sit in our basements, or even if we go to the bother, which we can do, and that is go to a nice venue we're in by ourselves and figure out how to set ourselves up and get on the internet and interconnect. At this point, just looking at it even 2 weeks ago, I just said, that's it. What am I going to do? What are we all going to do for a living? And then we started thinking and started looking at the technologies and saying, well, what if we were to approach this a different way? Sure, at the moment we've got a physical limitation, and that is speed of light and the speed of switchers, and the fact that we have so many people on different network providers here in Canada, Bell and Rogers. If you're going to send somebody information via Rogers to Bell, it's got to go through their system. That's going to lag it, slow it down. And I'm going to take a moment every once in a while here and admit people that are coming in, because we're still. Another time I will know to have a person manage that for me. So that we're learning here. So just looking at that, saying, what are we going to do? Schools, how are schools going to be teaching? How can they teach ensembles if ensembles can't get together? How can orchestras, how can small ensembles, how can bands that played in clubs, how can they reach out to their markets? How can this all happen? And the key crunch point, which was made so clear to us in a February meeting, where Mike Noonan showed up with I thought it was a rather cryptic description of what it was he was going to talk about. It was basically covering a conference that the CTV Bell Media had presented internally for its own employees. And he came in with a 45-minute knock your socks and throw them in a jar by the door presentation, where he had connected 3 ensembles in different parts of Canada, and they performed together with latency of less than 5 milliseconds. And they did that for, I forgot the length of time. I think they didn't really go on for too long. It was one piece or 1 or 2 pieces. There was one little burp in the entire time. So the technology is not impossible. It's there, but you need the entire resources of Bell Media, all of their employees, dark fiber, and a memo that to CTV to not do anything on the network while we do this, because if anything happens. And in fact, partway through that, somebody did fire up. This may be just urban legend, my take on it, but I think I remember it was a payroll spreadsheet that was fired up on the network. And that briefly knocked the sync of this dark fiber out, and then back it was in. So that's the reality, is that mission is possible if we're looking to do that. The cost is out of this world at this point. Mike's final closing statement was, in 5 years, this is all going to be different. Probably sooner. I think there's going to be a much stronger push on 5G and the implementation of that. But in the meantime, what can we do? Can we still find ways to make this, to perform meaningfully? And the big thing that as I looked at this and talked with John and Chris Chafe, I know you're online, and brief conversations with a few of you, is what we need to be doing is rethinking about how a live performance is going to be done. There's going to have to be some component that is a controlled component. In the pop world, that's easy because we're used to performances being done with rhythm tracks. So you can throw a rhythm track out, and then you can have performers in different spaces play with that. how can we make sure that we can get over the issues of the internet that we're encountering, the packet losses that caused signals to drift. And John will have a lot more to say about that when he's talking, because this is something that he has spent a huge amount of time investigating and trying to overcome. There are a lot of products now, a lot of solutions that have been around for a while that just raw stream the data out there. But when it goes to a server and that server all of a sudden has some kid playing whatever the latest video game is, and he's all of a sudden commanding the network, then your little stream is going to get shunted off into a little side path and put back in when the moment comes that it's able to do that. And it's going to reassemble it. How can we get this so that it all stays together? That's live, even in the recording world. And so we're going to start with what we have been doing. And we've got a couple of people online that have been doing this professionally for quite a little while, working in the studio world and using internet technology so that they can connect with clients across the planet and make it work. So we'll start from that. Then we're going to move into a couple of speakers that are going to speak on behalf of what's happening in the school situation, what's happening in performance that we currently are seeing. And then we're going to end up with what I'm calling our big firework. You know, you have a firework display and you always leave the big bang towards the end. And I don't want to put poor Dan Mangan and Chris Chafe and John into that boat, but what these guys are doing is what really, really has just got me just sitting on the edge of my chair, raring to go, getting musicians to say, let's do this. We can't quite do it. The technology is on benches being refined, but everybody is saying that this is going to be with us here within weeks, and it's going to revolutionize how it's not revolutionized, but it is going to solve enough of the problems that we'll be able to meaningfully move forward and reach out to our audiences. So that's my little initial take. I'm going to hand over to John. John, do you want to say anything more with that? And then our next presenter after that, just so you know, I'm just pulling up my schedule here. I have this all worked out. Is that we're going to do a brief presentation. I see Mariana is here. She had, I know she had a session, but Marianne, you are there, correct?
Yeah, right here.
You are, good, yes. So we're going to start with her because she's really grassroots, about as grassroots as you can. And I'm not saying that in a denigrating way, but she's taken the technology out there. She said, "I'm going to starve if I can't keep my business going. What am I going to do?" She cobbled it together, and off she's going. She's keeping her clients happy, and she's working. And she's put a little video presentation together for us that shows one of the solutions, and she'll chat about that. And then we'll move over to Michael Philip Wojowodo, who is working with a very mature platform, and we'll get his take on that. And John, here, I'll just go through the overview, and then I'll hand it over to you. Our next presenter after that, who is Jeff Walpert. Jeff is working at U of T, as many of you know, as well as his Desert Fish studios. And U of T is grappling with, as is Eastman, as is Laurier, as is McGill, as is every music school on this planet, how are we going to teach ensemble next fall? I mean, that is the goal. That is what a lot of what are the music programs, that's their big ticket items. How are we going to get orchestras, small chamber ensembles, choirs, jazz groups together? How are we going to make that happen? And Jeff is right dead smack in the middle of a task group that's dealing with that. Eastman is in the same boat. Jeff's Rich Waddy is going to talk about another project that he's been working on, which is a little bit more familiar to the rest of us. Frank Donato is here from Spider Web Show, and this is something that's actually an existing platform. I don't wander too far off track here, but a lot of these platforms have been developed over the past 3 or 4 years. Were tested. There was some testing done in Banff, and we realized, yes, we can make this work, but who on earth wants to perform in separate locations from their basements together? And then it got shelved. Well, all of a sudden, here we are in our basements, and we want to perform. And so these things are being pulled off the shelf and are being re-implemented and brought up to speed. And Frank's team with Spiderweb Show is dead in the midst of that, focusing primarily at the moment on theater, but the same technology applies to both. Dan Mangan, this I love this guy, and I've never met Dan, and the first show that I caught was a Sarah Slean show. There were 800 people, 800 little tiny squares on this screen, and Sarah, sitting in front of this, realizing that there was 800 people loving what she did. And she lost so many shows this spring, and the girl is so spirited, and she was just keeping chin up as best she could. But then along comes Side Door, offering the ability to host online concerts through Zoom. And the person that will follow Dan in his conversation is Guillermo with his company, and Guillermo is, as far as I'm concerned, has spearheaded a brand new industry that I think is going to just overtake and become the new source of income for all the live concert guys that can't do live concerts for the next year and a half, two, whenever it is that people can get together in large numbers without infecting each other. And he's figured out a way to work with the Sarah Sleans that haven't got the tech chops to make themselves look and sound good. And that's super important, because people are going to only put up with crappy sounding and looking videos for so long. They're going to want something better. And then as I said, we're going to end with the big firecrackers. Both John and Chris are working on solutions that are going to enable what I've just been describing to happen. And when they tell you what's going on, you'll become a believer. If you're a skeptic at this point, you will not be by the time they're finished. Take it, John.
I just wanted to say it is so amazing to see all of you on here, and I know we're all probably feeling very isolated and cut off from our sort of groups of people, and it just warms my heart to see everybody on here, and everybody shares the same passion with audio and in various different capacities, and that is amazing. I just wanted to speak very briefly to a thing. And this is something that it's a sort of a throwing down the gauntlet to AES. And that is, I had a fascinating conversation with Denis Tremblay. I saw him on here somewhere. I know you're there. And we were going through some audio files with a Juno screening thing. And I know Annalise is here somewhere. I saw you. You're on another page. I love you. Anyways, we were going through screening a bunch of audio files, and we had a lot of dropouts. These were audio files were sent to us on a USB stick. We transferred them and got them into the system. We were going through everything, and I had we were sort of freaking out about, what is going on. We're copying them here and there, and we were hearing a very significant difference between the WAV files that we're playing off of USB stick versus the ones that we're playing off of a drive. And so I sort of went down a little bit of a rabbit hole. And so I spent a bunch of time talking to Denis about this. And, it became clear to me that there is that the WAV file format that we're all using and abusing every single day is basically a multimedia format that Microsoft kind of threw out there and never really intended for it to be a professional file format. And so, along came Broadcast Wave, so AES and some other standards organizations tacked on all the sort of other stuff. And then we have Broadcast Wave with, timestamps and reels and metadata stuff. But it's just a bucket of bits. And, Dennis, I'm sure, could talk about this for hours, but me being a Luddite with the stuff under the hood, I'm just a guy who likes to make music. So understanding that all of the data that's stored in a WAV file is just a bucket of bits. It's just a bunch of data. And as long as it gets from point A to point B intact, that's great. But there are no checksums. There are no, there's no CRCs. There's no MD5s. There's nothing. It's just a file unless you attach like some sort of a hash to the file or something like that. It's just a bucket of bits. And that's all fine and good if you're working from one file system to another. But as soon as you try and send it over the internet, as anybody who has discovered, you know, the problems that arise when we use WeTransfer or Dropbox or all these various different formats, we run into problems where things are messed up. So that's moving an audio file from point A to point B. But as soon as we involve the internet, now we want to send an audio file from point A to point B. There is no synchronization method and checksums and stuff for the chunks of data. So we're relying on other platforms like NDI with SRT or other sort of ways of moving audio over the internet that have a more robust transfer vehicle. And suddenly we're now looking at this like our lives and our careers depending on it. And that sort of brings us to today. So here we are, we're all sort of trying to figure out how to move audio around over the internet in a secure and reliable way that has some measure of synchronization. And I'm not in any stretch am I any kind of technologist or rocket scientist, but I'm encountering these problems much like all of you are. And, you know, so I just wanted to sort of set that up a little bit and issue a challenge to those of you who are scientists and technologists. We need to formalize some sort of like the internet version of AES 67 and have an open standard that is the way that internet moves audio, the way that the internet moves audio from point A to point B, and it's robust. And, you know, suddenly here we are. We need to fix this. We need to get it going. So anyways, we're all making do with what we have right now. And so that brings us to some of the solutions. And I'd love to hear a bit more about what you're doing with audio movers. Mariana. Maybe Earl, you can bring in Mariana.
Hey,